Manhattan, the center of the universe. The island of ambition, wealth, and power. It is the city that never sleeps. But if you look closely at the sidewalks of Midtown, or descend into the tunnels of the subway system in 2025, you will realize that for thousands of people, this city has become the city that cannot wake up. We are walking through a graveyard disguised as a metropolis. While the tourists look up at the billboards of Times Square, a silent slaughter is happening at their feet. The homeless population of Manhattan is being systematically wiped out by a chemical weapon that has flooded the 5 boroughs. This is not the crack epidemic of the 80s. And it is not the heroin wave of the 90s. This is the fentanyl devastation. It is faster, deadlier, and more pervasive than anything New York City has ever seen. It has turned the subway system into a mobile tomb and the street corners of Hell's Kitchen into open-air hospices. Welcome to The Fentanyl Crisis is Killing Manhattan's Homeless Population. Today, we are going to uncover the uncomfortable truth about the most expensive real estate market in the world. We are going to investigate why, in a city with a budget larger than most countries, human beings are rotting to death on the pavement. We will look at the economics of the drug trade, the failure of the shelter system, and the devastating rise of Tranq, that is physically dismantling the bodies of the vulnerable. To understand the crisis in Manhattan, you have to understand the geography of the island. Unlike Los Angeles, where the crisis is spread out over massive encampments, Manhattan is vertical. It is dense. The wealth and the poverty are stacked on top of each other. Walk with me through Midtown. This is the corporate heart of America. Yet, around Penn Station and the Port Authority bus terminal, you encounter a population that exists in the shadows of the commuters. In 2025, the fentanyl lean has become a common sight on 8th Avenue. Men and women, frozen in a gravity-defying stupor, struggling to stay upright as the opioid shuts down their central nervous system. The difference now is the lethality. In the past, a homeless encampment might exist for years. Today, the turnover is terrifying. The faces you see on Monday are gone by Friday, replaced by new victims. The fentanyl supply in New York is notoriously volatile. Because it is cut in makeshift labs in the outer boroughs, the potency varies wildly from bag to bag. One hit provides relief, the next hit stops the heart. But the true horror of the Manhattan crisis lies underground. The New York City subway system is the artery of the city. But for the homeless, it is the shelter of last resort. It is climate-controlled, it is anonymous, and it is vast. In 2025, entire train cars on the E line or the A line have become mobile consumption sites. The tragic reality is that fentanyl has made the subway dangerous for the users themselves. When you nod out on a train platform, you are vulnerable. We have seen a spike in falls onto the tracks, not just from mental illness, but from the sudden loss of motor control caused by the drug. We see people unconscious in the tunnels, hidden in the darkness, where emergency services cannot reach them in time. The subway has become a catacomb. And what is driving this? It is the economics of abundance. In Manhattan, a slice of pizza costs $1 or $2. A swipe of the MetroCard costs nearly $3. But a bag of fentanyl? In some neighborhoods, it is cheaper than both. The barrier to entry for addiction has effectively been removed. For a homeless individual collecting cans or panhandling, the price of oblivion is easily within reach. The cartels have saturated the market so thoroughly that the drug is cheaper than food. This economic trap creates a cycle that is impossible to break. When the drug is this cheap, you stay high. When you stay high, you cannot navigate the bureaucracy of the city's social services. You cannot make appointments. You cannot follow rules. You simply exist to feed the next dose. But fentanyl is no longer the only threat. We must talk about Xylazine, Tranq. Manhattan is seeing a surge in this veterinary sedative being mixed into the supply. It extends the high, which appeals to users who have built up a tolerance to fentanyl. But the cost is horrific. Xylazine causes the blood vessels to constrict, leading to massive necrosis wounds. The skin turns black and dies. In the past, outreach workers would hand out clean needles to prevent HIV. Now, they are handing out wound care kits. They are wrapping limbs that look like they belong in a war zone. We are seeing amputations becoming common among the street population. It is a slow, painful decomposition of the human body. happening in public view on Broadway and Fifth Avenue. So, why aren't they getting help? Why are the shelters empty while the streets are full? This is the great paradox of New York policy. The city has a legal right to shelter. Theoretically, anyone who wants a bed can get one. But ask any homeless person in Manhattan why they sleep on a steam grate in freezing temperatures instead of going to a shelter. And they will tell you the same thing. The shelters are worse than the streets. The shelter system in New York is often described as prison-like. It is violent. Theft is rampant. For a person struggling with addiction, it is a nightmare. Many shelters have strict no-drug policies. If you go in, you face withdrawal, dope sickness, without medical support. The physical pain of fentanyl withdrawal is so severe that people will choose the risk of hypothermia outside just to maintain their ability to use and avoid the sickness. Furthermore, the congregate-style shelters, where dozens of men sleep in one room, are terrifying for those with mental health issues. Paranoia, fueled by methamphetamine which is often mixed with fentanyl, makes these environments impossible to endure. So, they choose the sidewalk. They choose the freedom of the street, even if that freedom is a death sentence. The city's response has been controversial. We have seen initiatives to involuntarily hospitalize those deemed a danger to themselves. We have seen aggressive police sweeps of encampments. But you cannot arrest a chemical dependency. When the police clear a block in Chelsea, the population simply migrates to the Lower East Side. It is a game of musical chairs where the music never stops and there are never enough seats. There is also a profound loneliness to the Manhattan crisis. In a city of 8 million people, the homeless addict is invisible. The pace of New York is frantic. People walk fast. They wear headphones. They look at their phones. They have trained themselves not to see the bodies in the doorway. This urban blindness allows the crisis to metastasize. We walk past people who are actively overdosing, assuming they are just sleeping. We have normalized the sight of death. The Manhattan psychosis is another layer. The combination of sleep deprivation, because the city is loud and bright, and high-potency stimulants creates a volatile population. We see the outbursts on the subway. The screaming matches with invisible enemies. This alienates the public even further, creating a fear barrier that prevents compassion. But we must remember who these people are. They are not just statistics. They are former stockbrokers, veterans, artists, and runaway teenagers. The fentanyl crisis in Manhattan does not discriminate. It takes the high-functioning and the broken alike. It rewires the brain's survival hierarchy, placing the drug above food, water, and shelter. The uncomfortable truth is that Manhattan is acting as a funnel. Vulnerable people come here from all over the country, drawn by the idea of New York, or sent here by other states. They arrive. They fail to find footing in the brutal housing market. They fall into the shelter system. And eventually, they fall into the arms of fentanyl. The island is becoming a containment zone. The bridges and tunnels act as walls. Once you are down and out in Manhattan, the cost of leaving is too high. You are trapped on the island, cycling between the street, the hospital, and the jail, until the final overdose. So, what is the future of this city? If the current trajectory continues, Manhattan will become a bifurcated city. A city of the ultra-rich living in glass towers in the sky, and a permanent underclass dying in the gutters below. The middle class is fleeing, driven out by the cost and the chaos. But it doesn't have to be this way. The solution requires a radical rethink. It requires safe consumption sites that take drug use off the street and connect people with medical care. It requires long-term psychiatric housing, not just temporary shelters. It requires breaking the iron grip of the cartels on the ports and tunnels. Most importantly, it requires the people of New York to wake up, to stop walking past the bodies, to demand that the richest city on earth does not leave its citizens to rot. We are watching a tragedy unfold in slow motion. The lights of Broadway are bright, but they cannot outshine the darkness of this epidemic. Manhattan is dying, one soul at a time. We need to confront this. We need to look at the uncomfortable truth. Thank you for watching this investigation. We know this is a heavy subject, but silence is what allows this crisis to continue. If you believe that we need to save our cities and demand better policies for the vulnerable, please like this video. It helps us push this message to the people who need to hear it. And please, Subscribe to America's Uncomfortable Truth. We will continue to shine a light on the darkest corners of our nation, investigating the failures that the mainstream media often ignores. Leave a comment below. Do you feel safe in New York City today? What changes have you seen in your neighborhood? Stay safe, look out for each other, and never stop demanding the truth.